we would start with Professor Annette Oxenius. She is the Vice President for Research in ETH Zurich and also the Board Chair of ICANN. And I will hold the mic because we don't have headsets. Please, Annette.
So, Excellencies, professors, directors, distinguished guests. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to this important conversation on language diversity in AI. At ETH Zurich and across the ETH domain, we believe that science must serve society and that technological innovation should always be guided by responsibility and impact. Digital transformation is reshaping every aspect of our lives. With this comes a profound responsibility to ensure that these technologies are inclusive, are sustainable, and truly beneficial for all. ETH is leading several initiatives in this direction, and I would like to highlight one that is particularly close to today's theme, ICANN, the International Computation and AI Network. ICANN was founded 2 years ago, actually here at the WEF. Its mission is to build a global cross-cutting network that drives sustainable AI innovation across geographical, across social and economic barriers. We connect academic institutions, resource providers, implementers and donors across diverse settings, united by a shared commitment, and that is to use AI for a common good. Today our focus is on language diversity, a topic dear to both ETH and EPFL, and central to our joint endeavor at Swiss AI. This collaboration has already led to the training of Apertus, a multilingual and transparent AI model that you will hear more about later. Together we combine diverse strengths in compute, in education, software data, contextual expertise, and implementation to drive measurable impact in areas such as health, humanitarian response, climate resilience, agriculture and education. Through ICANN, we advance innovative research collaborations selected via a transparent and rigorous process, ensuring the highest standards for projects funded by our members and donors. As we begin this session, I invite you to reflect on how we can make AI not only powerful, but inclusive and equitable, so that it truly serves humanity in all its diversity. Thank you, and I look forward to an inspiring discussion.
Thank you so much, Annette. Thank you. So now, obviously, a very, very important event that's awaiting us in only a month's time left is the AI Impact Summit, and I'm really, really grateful that the Additional Secretary of the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MITI, Dr. Abhishek Singh is here. Please come here to join me. And it would be wonderful if you could share a bit of your thoughts. What's the important goal for the Indian Impact AI Summit? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me over. But first and foremost, clarification, I'm not a doctor. Not yet earned it. It requires a lot more effort to be able to do research and to qualify for that. But yes, thank you. And doing this, yes, the Impact Summit is less than a month onwards. 21st of Feb, I will be very relieved because so a lot going on in the next 30 days or so. And of course, language diversity, for which this evening we have meeting, discussing, is something that's core to the way we are building AI in India, because as you know, we are a huge country, 1.4 billion people, 22 official languages, thousands of other dialects. So whenever we build AI for people, when we build AI for masses, one thing we always say that AI should be bias-free, but to be bias-free, you need to have inclusive data sets. But inclusive data sets will mean inclusive data sets belonging to from every language. But unfortunately, in the digital ecosystem, not all languages are equally represented. For example, if you look at Wikipedia pages as well, Wikipedia English, there will be probably millions of pages. And I look to a language like Hindi, which is the most commonly spoken language in India. There are somewhere around 280,000 pages in Hindi only. And if I look at smaller languages, like we have Malayalam, Bengali, Gujarati, Marathi, Konkani, Bodo, so there the numbers go down further. So when you don't have digital content, obviously any model which is being trained on content that's harvested from the net will have biases, inherent biases. So what we did when we started building a project called Bhashini, which we are trying to work with Martin for scaling it up so that the same model can be adopted in other countries across the world. So we started crowdsourcing data sets from people who speak those languages. So we built a crowdsourcing platform in which we called it Bolo India, Likho India, Dekho India, Suno India. Primarily speak your language, write what's written so that the script is correct, then identify an item which is there and hear and say whether the diction is correct or not. So people who speak the language, they started contributing to the datasets, and with that we are able to build up a huge corpus in very little time so that we are able to build tools for speech-to-speech, speech-to-text translations. And that became the starting point for building our AI models, which are much more inclusive. Because ultimately the objective is to use NLP, the natural language processing, and the Gen AI tools to enable voice-enabled services, so that people who are wanting to know about public services, or for, say, for example, scholarships or pensions, or about farmers trying to get advice, or people looking for health services, they should be able to access information just like we do with Siri and Alexa. So that's the whole objective that we are trying to build. The Impact Summit, we'll have many such sessions which will demonstrate some of these technologies. We are working with the other companies. In fact, I met Marty yesterday from 11 Labs. They're also doing something similar, and a lot of capabilities have gone up in this field. With Martin, I'm trying to see how we can work with the current AI initiative in trying to develop something which can help adoption of this technology, a diffusion of this technology in much bigger way. The impact that we are looking at is on people, planet, progress, the three pillars about which I spoke yesterday. So I won't dwell on it for want of time, but I would just urge upon any one of you who are going to be at the summit, most welcome. You can get details from the impact.indiai.gov.in. We have like almost 600 sessions planned over 5 days of the summit. We are getting almost all the global leaders, around 15 heads of state, 60 other ministers. We are getting almost all the top CEOs. Many of them were here at the WEF. Then we are getting all the top academics from across. And the agenda that we are setting up will be very inclusive. We have done lots of pre-summit events across, and we got a lot of feedback, so that we are curating the agenda. So look forward to having you at the Impact Summit. And if there are any suggestions, any ideas that we must, in fact, yesterday I was with her at a panel, and we were discussing of how we can create digital commons. So similar thing we are trying to do. In fact, one of the working groups which are working on democratizing AI resources is also thinking of creating AI commons. AI use cases across sectors, from healthcare, agriculture, education. Can they become part of an open source repository which larger countries can, countries and communities can across the world can use? Similarly, AI trust commons. Like very often we say that AI is biased, but to do bias mitigation, to do ethical AI certification, or to do stress testing, you will need tools. Lots of such tools have been developed. The UK's AI Security Institute has developed lots of such tools. OECD has some such tools. The network of AI safety institutes are working on that. So what we are trying to do through a safe and trusted pillar is that can it become like AI trusted commons that can be open source, that can be made available to the larger ecosystem. So these are some of the thoughts that resonated well in our discussion with the last evening, and I'm sure with the participation of all of you, all stakeholders in the working groups and in the summit, we will be able to give it a concrete shape. So thank you once again for having me over, and look forward to hearing from the other speakers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Additional Secretary, so much. And now, before we go to India, we actually should also look back what happened almost a year ago. I think 11 months ago in Paris. So I'm very pleased that Martin Tisne, who actually led the work of the Public Interest AI Group, who then later on founded and is now chairman of Current AI, also could join us. So if you could also share some thoughts, that I know language diversity is also very dear to your heart. Thank you, Martin.
I'm happy to. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you, Abhishek, for our partnership. I'm excited and I'm amazed that you're able to be here for everything that you're organizing in a month's time. It's always difficult to be between people and conversation and drink, so I'll be brief. I'll make one macro point and then three specific ones. The macro point is I've actually really changed my mind on linguistic diversity over the past few months. I think fundamentally it's about culture. This won't be news to you, but it was for me a different way of thinking about it. Culture is everything. For me, the main point and what we're really focused on at Current AI, and actually I don't think we were focused quite enough on that in the AI Action Summit, is there is a risk, we really have to pay attention to this, that what AI will create is a monoculture or several monocultures. That's the risk. The opportunity is that we can use AI to really celebrate and enhance the diversity of cultures in the world. It's an obvious point, but it's a big point. And that's really one that we're keeping as a North Star. So that's the macro one. The three others, the first one is about diversity. I started working on AI and sort of algorithmic systems, then called around 2015, 2016. And we funded a lot of work around looking at bias and discrimination. My overall fear when it comes to linguistic diversity, and it's the same that we saw with work in the late 2010s in the applications of AI at the time across society, is that AI will gravitate, effectively, the financial incentives will gravitate, exactly as Abhishek mentioned, to the larger languages, to the most obvious cases and not to the edge cases, right? So in terms of like the socio-technical impact of AI, it's gravitating towards larger groups and effectively neglecting those so-called, in technical terms, edge cases. That's an important point, I think, because it'll need real attention in order to push the system towards focusing on those languages that are not edge cases, they're the lifeblood of communities and cultures. And that the market won't do it itself. We really have to consciously market shape. That's the first specific point. The second one is about innovation. I think there's fantastic innovation to be unleashed when it comes to linguistic diversity and cultural preservation. Abhishek, you mentioned one in terms of Bashni, fantastic platform in India, which has been spearheaded by your ministry, which we're working a lot with. And we're excited also to look at this dimension of hardware, how it is that we can effectively have open hardware approaches that can work offline and enable communities to interact in their own languages and thereby enhance their experiences. So the innovation piece, I think, really want to emphasize. It's not a sideshow. It's an area where we'll see a lot of change. And then the third one, just to finish, is I also think it's a sweet spot. Our work fundamentally at Current AI, a huge part of the summit was around public interest AI. It was ensuring that AI should be outcomes focused and really deliver change for people. I think the linguistic diversity, cultural preservation piece is a sweet spot for two reasons. One of them, by and large, and if there are representatives from big tech companies in the room who disagree, please come and see me at the end of the conversation. My understanding is that the market potential is too small for big tech for many of those different languages. So there's a market failure potentially happening. And the other piece is from a geopolitical perspective, with the many governments that we work with at Current AI and elsewhere, there's a huge thirst, as you all know, for AI sovereignty. And AI sovereignty has to include the fundamental dimension of language. So I think that combination is a really potent, exciting sweet spot for public interest AI to focus on this topic. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you. Maybe if we can conclude like this, the bridging, now I still go back from Paris to India to Geneva. I would like to hand over to Ambassador Alexandra Baumann. I just present you as the tech ambassador. I know you wear many other hats, but it's just easier for this crowd as well. Switzerland would like to host and will host the next AI summit in 2027. So maybe you can also share some thoughts about the importance of language diversity in this regard.
Thank you, Nina. Good evening, everyone. So being from Switzerland, you know, Switzerland has 4 different languages. And we were saying yesterday, what combined at the same panel that I was attending with Secretary Singh, what actually combined Switzerland, or what keeps us together is this language diversity and that we have dialogue between each other. We don't have the same culture, we don't have the same language, but we do have dialogue amongst each other. And that's why we strongly believe that language diversity in AI needs to be a priority. So we're very happy to make this one of the priorities taken up from France after India. Switzerland will host the AI Summit 2027. And language diversity will also be a building stone between, or in all these 3. We continue with the theme. So I invite you to all of it, to India first, and then come to Geneva in 2027. We also host a event tomorrow at the House of Switzerland on exactly the theme and on ICANN. ICANN will be promoted there. And then we have a side event, one of the 600s, we have more, but one of the 600s is a Swiss side event on exactly the theme. So we're very happy to actually bridge that gap between the summits in a strong belief that language diversity, you know, even the American president today said how important language is when yeah, he said that if the US didn't free Denmark, they would still speak German and Japanese. Well, you know, I didn't agree with that, but yeah, so far from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexa. Well, thank you. and penguin language. So thank you so much. Now we talked about the summits. I would also like to present you like a very concrete application of language diversity. I would like to invite one part of the Apertus team. The other one is standing here, and the third one is in one of the many is, I think, in Lausanne. Professor Antoine Bosselou, co-creator, I don't know, what's your co-lead, I guess, of Apertus. Could you share some thoughts about how you include this language diversity into a very specific multilingual model? Thank you.
Of course, of course. Imanol, do you want to come on stage with me as I present here? Imanol is my co-lead on the Apertus project, so I think it's only reasonable that we're both standing in front of you. Martin Yagi is not here, unfortunately, but there are many members of the team in the room as well. It was really a gigantic joint effort to make this happen. And I think I want to thank Nina for having us up here, because language diversity was really central to what we tried to do with the Apertus project from the start. And what that ended up with was a model, an LLM, trained on 15 trillion tokens at 70 billion parameter scale and 8 billion parameter scale for the more resource conscious. That was trained across, what was measured to be around 1,800 languages. And I think that's the goal that we all have when we talk about language diversity. It's large language models and other AI models that can actually represent the diversity of languages throughout the world and also the diversity of cultures. And maybe I'll spend the last minute telling you a bit about what that means to us when we start. It starts, first of all, of being able to identify languages, when we actually look through gigantic web crawls to create pre-training data, and designing new language ID systems to be able to expand the number of languages that we can actually reflect in our corpus. It starts with designing new tokenization methods so that we don't use English-centric ones that make models cost 5 times more in every other language on the planet, so that instead we do a lot of research in finding the one that is most efficient across groups of language as opposed to a single one. It means deciding how we should actually build our pre-training data mixture so that we, don't necessarily make languages compete with one another as we are doing training, but rather complement each other and finding the right mix to make that happen. And of course, that was mentioned, it starts with being able to create evaluations that aren't just multilingual, not just translating English data sets so that you're learning about American law in Swahili, but really reflecting the cultural and regional perspectives that language is really just a proxy for. And I think one of the biggest things that we tried to do in Apertus was create evaluation sets that had never been seen before, testing across 150 cultures, going to places that had never been gone to before to get this type of evaluation to see how those perspectives are actually reflected. I think we're the only group that actually tests models on Twi and Kinyarwanda and various other African languages. And even within languages that everybody tests on, such as Spanish, we actually go to 20 different places throughout the world that speak Spanish, and we get unique data for those environments to evaluate our models. So everything that we do for language diversity is about increasing cultural diversity. It's about increasing cultural coverage and making sure that the models that we create are actually useful and perhaps usable by the largest number of global users possible. So if you hadn't heard of Apertus before tonight, I hope you'll go take a look at it now. And if you had heard about it, I hope you know a bit more, and it'll convince you that it's the way forward for how we should do global LLM development. Thank you.